it's very much like church right then. Okay, so you may notice that the room setup is just a little bit different this morning for those of you who have joined us previously. Our friends at the Tech Park are actually remodeling this room later on today and adding some amazing acoustical tiles to help baffle the sound a little bit, because this room is beautiful, but it is real loud. Right? So that's going to be better for presentations and meetings in here in the future. Anyhow, that starts immediately following this program today. So that is why you don't hear any projection of sound into the room, because this is just for our camera. All the other equipment has been removed. Also, that is why we have our lovely media cart friend here today, because there is no longer a screen. So anyhow, a couple weeks, that'll all be replaced and shiny and new and fancy again. And until then, we're going to make this work, and hopefully you guys will all be okay with that, right? So I see you found mostly donuts and coffee and tea and delicious things. Please don't forget to grab more on your way out, or else my entire team will be forced to consume all the donuts, and that's not good for anyone, right? Okay, well, depends on who you ask, I guess. Okay, so we've got someone to eat donuts, which is always excellent. So as always, we are here every Tuesday morning to lift the rock. And as we get started, we want to give a very special thank you to our friends at the Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce for all that they do, and Miguel for joining us again. He's been out and about for a while, so we're glad to welcome him back this morning. And also to our friends at the Little Rock Tech Park for all that they do to constantly help improve the entire Little Rock technical ecosystem with big projects and small, like hanging up these awesome acoustical tiles. Every week, we encourage you to use our Screamin' Fast Wi-Fi. It's from our very own entrepreneur in residence, Lou McAllister, and his awesome company, Broadband Development Group. If you are not yet a Venture Center member, come see me, or Ashley, or Lee. We'll be happy to talk to you about the benefits of membership. If you want to hear it from somebody else, you can talk to Chris, or John, or Mario, or anybody, really. Right? So come and learn about what you can do, and if you are not yet a Venture Center member, you can get on the Tech Park's Wi-Fi, and there's the password right there. So speaking of membership, there it is again. It's only $150 a year. There are a couple of discounts for people like chamber members, right, and students, so it's really accessible to everybody, and we look forward to talking to you guys more about that. So quick question, what is one thing that entrepreneurs need to succeed, aside from coffee? I know, and apparently donuts, right? Well, it's also connections, right? And so to that end, today's presenters need to meet small business owners. So I want you guys to start thinking now about who you know that needs to meet our friends from the ASBTDC. So say that 3 times fast, right? Yeah, it's actually the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center. You're welcome. That's... I get a gold star, right? So anyhow, so you're going to give us a little love on social media today. When you do that, you're going to use the hashtag #LiftTheRock. You're going to find the Venture Center on Twitter @Venture Center, and you're going to find the ASBTDC @ASBTDC. We like to keep it simple around here. So with no further ado, please give some love to my friend Martial as he comes up to talk to you. Are you green? Okay, I'm going to hand you the clicker. It's cozy and awkward up here today, but we're just rolling with it.
Okay, so I'm French. My accent is really strong. Today I will present you 2 things. The first is ASBTDC services, and the second is market research overview. At the end, Rebecca, my partner, will present you the technology of ASBTDC. So we have 7 offices all over the States. The main one is at ULR at Little Rock, but we cover the whole state with our local offices. In 2016, we helped 141 businesses to start. We created 697 jobs. We raised 69.8 million, and we increased the sales of the current business by 20.2 million. That's the metrics we report to the government about our services. So we offer one-on-one consulting for no cost, business planning, financial analysis, loan package, online and traditional marketing, growth and expansion, and management. We know each one of you have an expertise and a weak point. We just try to help you on your weak points. That's the main part. Market research for no cost. So a market research looks like that. We offer business listing, financial ratio analysis, industry report, consumer spending data, demographic information. We have one of our clients just right here at the front, Austin. Can you give us a little bit feedback about market research? For your company, for CIS strategy. What we have done for you. What was your needs? You need business listing to target potential customer, suspect, qualified suspect. So we sit with Austin one afternoon and we went through all database one by one in order to explain him how we work, in order to ask him what he needs exactly. And based on that, he requests me 5, 6, 7 market research because he has like 5 or 6 markets. So they decide to hire a sales guy, and that's one of the first hire guy you need in your startup. But if you look everywhere and nowhere, you just spend time and you lose money. But if you have a business listing and you know who is your customer and we can give you that, a phone number and a contact, you save a lot of time. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. So we also offer event and training. Starting a business in Arkansas, how to write a business plan, business financing option, bond messaging strategy, and QuickBooks. We know some business just start from the ground with no knowledge, so we offer those webinars and seminars in order to give you the basic knowledge. If you need advanced expertise, you sit with a consultant, and that is more valuable. So the only thing we do is a satisfaction survey. That's the only payment we request, and it's a free payment. Satisfaction survey. Why we need that? Because we need to prove at the government we are doing a good job. Okay? If we sit with you and we do not deliver, at one point the government need to know we are not efficient. So that's why it's very important for us. And the second is the economic impact. At the beginning, you remember the number, the 69.8 million capital? That's the number we need to report to the government. And today, we just need an email from you to say, hey, thank you so much, guys. Because of market research, we were able to acquire 10 new customers, and you increase the sales of our current business by $250,000. Just with an email of you, we put that in our metrics and we report that to the government. We are grant funded, we are a non-profit organization. Our funding is not based on the capital raise, on the sales increase, it's based on the population of the state of Arkansas. So if we increase your business, your sales of your business, we will not get any reward of that. Okay? But it's important for us to report those metrics to the government. That's how we work. So let me do a focus on market research, because if you have not done a market research for your business, it's maybe a mistake. Today, you think you're on the right track, but you have no clue. You don't know. Because you don't know who is your customer. And when you're a startup, that is very important. With a market research, you know what you need to do. Our job is just to give you data in order to make a smart decision. When you are at the early stage of a startup, each decision is very important. If you make the wrong one at the beginning, your startup fails. If you make the good one at the beginning, you just go faster. That's where we step in. Everything is focused on customer. If you don't have a customer, you are not in business. All our market research will describe who is your customer. And that's very important. And you need to respond at each of those questions. Who are my best customers? What do they buy and for what price? Where we can find more customers, and how I can reach my customer? Those simple questions is your strategy. And you will be surprised, half of the startup cannot reply to those questions, even after 6 months or a year in business. We are here to help you to determine the problem, discover the opportunity, confirm the marketing and branding strategy, determine product price, place, and promotion tactics. Today, your marketing is really important. And we have in our staff, Nicolas, another French, I'm sorry. We have a lot of French people. But Nicolas is an expert in marketing. And if you sit with him, he will help you to define a strategy for your business. A business plan is the first step, or Lean Canvas is the first step. but after, what is your marketing strategy? Like I say, the main important thing is your customer. For that, you need to identify the market size, discover your competitor, analyze your customer, and evaluate your competitive advantage. Let me give you an example. We had a spin-off at the University of Arkansas 3 years ago. According to the scientists, that medical device has no competition. We did our market research and we found 220 competitors on that market. It was not an easy market, but because of that, he was able to put a comparison table between his product and the other one, and he was able to identify his unique competitive advantage. When you speak to an investor, you don't say, hey, I'm the best product in the world. No, you explain why. The why is very important. And when you don't know what you don't know, most of the time we sit with clients, they do something weird, like Austin. We have not seen that before, so it's new. And we learn the same time as the client. But because we exchange and we share data, we are able to guess the feeling. Okay, you had a feeling on that, but let's see if there is a market for that or not. And based on that, you can cross the information and see if there is a real potential or not for your company. We are just here to make sure you take the right decision, not the wrong decision. This is very important when you are in business. When you're a startup, you start with a small funds. You don't want to spend your money everywhere. You want to spend your money where it's efficient. Okay. Can someone tell me how Walmart and Dealer use market research for their own business strategy? Did someone have an idea about that? And that is scary. No one? Dillard's. When you go in a store of Dillard's, they offer you free Wi-Fi. They just want to track how much time you spend on each area of the store. So if you connect, they are able to track you. Why it's important for them? Because they want to know what you like and you don't like. Like that, they can forecast the next collection. Walmart, if you shop in the morning, if you want to buy banana, it's 79 cents. Why? Because the customer in the morning have no job. Vegetables or fruits are not important for them. So 79 cents is an attractive price for them. If you go in the evening and you work all day and you have a huge income and you want to eat fruits or vegetables because you want to be healthy, you're okay to pay 99 cents. So the price in the morning and the price in the evening is not the same. Because they know it's not the same customer. And it's the same for your business. When you start, at the beginning, your early stage customers are not the same as your year, 2 years, 3 years customer. They change. And you need to know that. Any question? And that's it. So now let's look at the T of ASBTDC, the technology. Because we help regular business and technology business.
And we'll give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions after Rebecca wraps up.
Right. Thanks, Marshall. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. Can everybody hear me all right? No? Is that better?
That won't actually do anything, but is it green?
It's green.
Yes, it's for the camera.
Oh, you're right. That's right. Okay, I'll just project as best I can. My name is Rebecca Norman. I'm an innovations consultant for the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center, and I work statewide to help companies that are research-based explore funding opportunities through the federal Small Business Innovation Research and Technology Transfer programs. So at the ASBTDC, we focus on helping entrepreneurs turn their dreams into realities that can be achieved through working with our services that Marshall mentioned before, consulting, market research, and training. We can help them get to their goal of having a business here in the state. I think I bounced ahead a bit. No? Okay, so the SBR STTR program, as I mentioned, that stands for Small Business Innovation Research, Small Business Technology Transfer Program. The there's 11 agencies that participate in this program, and they devote $2.5 billion each year to research companies that have ideas for new services or products that align with agency identified need areas. And so those agencies have money sitting there waiting for companies and their partners to use to bring new solutions out to the marketplace that can really help in critical need areas. It could be anything from life science to agriculture to the warfighter needs for Department of Defense. So there's a whole range of agencies, all of them that have over $100 million in their external research and development budgets are required to participate in SBIR. The 5 largest agencies in the program also participate in STTR, Small Business Technology Transfer. This is a sister program of SBIR. They share the same mission and objectives, so we often talk about them at the same time. They're just a little bit different in how the approach is set up for them. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So who's a fit for SBIR? The program, the oversight for the program is provided by the Small Business Administration. So we go by SBA's definition of what a small business is when we talk about who's eligible. And this means that there's usually 500 or fewer employees, that it's U.S. owned and operated by citizens or legal residents of the United States. Revenue can vary depending on the industry, but generally not more than $7.5 million a year, which isn't too challenging for a lot of the small companies that we work with. Really have a lot of leverage to still fit in that distinction of being a small business. And so those are just the basic eligibility requirements. There's also someone that's called the principal investigator, or PI, that serves as the lead researcher for the project. And this person needs to be full-time employed by the company at the time of award. They need to also be the most appropriate person to lead the research effort to help make sure everyone is on par with achieving their objectives for the different tasks throughout the whole project performance period. And they're also the ones that report back to the agency program managers on how things are going with the projects. STTR is a little bit different. As I mentioned before, with SBIR, the companies can outsource a third of the work effort however they like. It can go to a federal laboratory, it can go to another business, it can go to a nonprofit research institution. With STTR, it's required versus optional to have that collaboration, and the business needs to have at least 30% the work done by a nonprofit research institution. It could be like the University of Arkansas Little Rock, UAMS, or another one like that. And in that kind of collaboration, the company does at least 30% of the work in-house. They outsource between 40 or up to 60% to their partner. It can even be a case where there's more than one partner, but the primary one needs to do at least 40% of the work effort for STTR. As I mentioned before, in SBIR, there's someone called the principal investigator that needs to be a full-time employee for the company at the time of award. STTR doesn't require the PI to be full-time employed by the company, so they can retain a full-time job elsewhere and still lead the research effort on one of these projects. That's often attractive if you're wanting to engage a PI that's maybe full-time employed at a university or another company, but still wants to be head of this particular project that you're working on. All right, so just a rundown of how this program works. Generally, everyone starts in phase 1 of the program. This is proof of concept feasibility research, where the company's really just trying to do the minimum amount of work to prove that their idea works, that it has merit, and that if they were to receive more money in the next round of the program, they could go on to develop the full prototype, the full system, and test it out in the real-world environment conditions to make sure it operates according to the customer's need. And so phase 1, the awards are fairly small considering all that needs to be done, and that the scientists are fairly high pay employees generally. Yeah, between $100,000 and $225,000 for a phase 1 award. It varies by agency. The smaller agencies only have maybe $100,000 to $150,000. The National Science Foundation and the Department of Defense, NIH, they all have close to $225,000 that can go to phase 1, which may sound like a lot, but it does go pretty quickly when you account for all the hourly efforts put in by the scientists, things like travel, equipment purchases, all those things. The money does go pretty quickly. And so phase 1, the team usually has between 6 months and a year to perform on their work. The goal was really to get to phase 2, where you have a much bigger pot of money. Awards can be between $300,000 and $1 million plus for phase 2. And that's really, we also have about 2 years of time to really refine the product or service that you're developing, make sure it does work in field test for your customers. And so once you leave phase 2, you should have a product or service that's ready to sell to the marketplace. That's really the goal. There also are options if you've gotten funding from a contract agency like Department of Defense or NASA, then you do have the right to engage with them in a sole source contract after your phase 2. So they could be your first customer that you work with until they have their needs met as an agency. After that point, you do have the right to then go out to a commercial market and keep selling your product out into the public sector. So that's a real advantage of going the contract route too, that you have, that you get all your invoices paid quickly by the government, and you have that ongoing source of revenue as you continue to explore other markets. All right, so this is a competitive program. This is open to companies all across the nation. So your odds of winning an award your first time out, they range between 15 and 25%. And just checking our statistics at the ASBTDC, since we started, we've helped 120 proposals get submitted, and we have a 30% award rate at this point. We'll get into the awards later. So we're really at the very upper end and a little bit beyond for award rates. So anytime you work with our center, I would definitely recommend that. It helps increase your odds of winning an award. Definitely take advantage of the market research that we offer. It can help supplement key sections of your proposal, and take advantage of services that I offer with proposal review, development, plus all the preliminary steps involved before you even start writing. It's a really great way to make sure you have a strong proposal that's competitive out there. Phase 2, the chances of winning are between 30 and 50%, which is quite a bit higher because at this point the company's already proven their team and their approach is sound. The government has seen their phase 1 outcomes and found them to be a company that's worthy of a further investment and that they deliver. So the odds can go quite a bit up in phase 2. I would say one thing that really helps in both phases is to start engaging with your customers as early as possible. Marshall mentioned that we can help you find out who they are in the first place, but then going ahead and take that move to get out of the laboratory or the field, wherever you work as a scientist, and really try to meet with your customers as much as you can in person, find out really what they're looking for and what they need, and what they would agree to conditionally purchase from you if you were to win phase 1 and 2 awards, so that you can demonstrate to the government that you have a clear pathway to the marketplace, that you have evidence by their support letters or conditional order letters. These are all things that we have templates for at our center, anything from proposal outlines that have all the key criteria for the agencies. We also have budget templates to help you get started that have formulas built into them, so it's a more user-friendly way to approach the whole process than just jumping into that application package cold. So as I mentioned, we do provide guidance at each step. So there's a lot of steps required even before you start writing your proposal. There's some steps before you get started would include things like conducting a closed topic search, prior awards. This helps you get a sense of historically what agencies have funded research in your area of interest, and that way you know what agencies are likely to keep funding what you're doing. The grant agencies, especially like National Science Foundation, Institutes of Health, they tend to repeat the same topics from one cycle to the next. So you can really start planning pretty early as you go into this process. Another step I recommend taking is having some communication with agency program managers. So what I would help you do after doing the searches is to draft a short paragraph or so summary of your project idea and use that to reach out to an agency and ask if that would be considered for funding through their program, if they have any ideas for ways to modify it to be a stronger fit for a particular research topic that they're interested in. And that way you know you're in the right direction, you're definitely going to be competitive within the agency. If they say no, it can actually save you time. They might say where else would be a better way to go, another agency or another topic. So it's never going to hurt you to take the time to do that, the whole preliminary types of steps. And of course, once you get all that done, I will definitely help you with things like preparing your proposal, giving you reviews, and then submitting it online. Another step I didn't mention before is just registering your company to do business with the government. There's a few sites to go to for that. And so that's something else just to knock out early before you get going with the writing. So at this point, we have 36 ASBTDC clients, or 36 awards, I would say, that have gone to our clients, which is really good. We started, we got our program accredited back in 2007 or so, and began working with clients at that point. And the word has gotten out. We've had a lot of clients come back to us again and again for market research and proposal review assistance. And so we've been able to get this number up steadily over the years. So really happy about that. You can also find out total number of awards by state through a site called sbr.gov. And so not every company in the state has worked with us, but if you want to just know generally what's the landscape for Arkansas, you can always go there and check out where the awards are coming from, what the companies look like, that kind of thing. Not just for Arkansas, but anywhere in the U.S. Here's a sampling of some of our clients throughout the state. As Marshall mentioned, all of our services are confidential, but we do ask if we have a company that's been successful winning a loan, winning a grant or contract through this federal funding program. If we could have them sign off on a publicity release form, we can then share their stories. So that's the case with these clients featured here. They have all agreed to share their success. The first one is a Jonesboro-based company, Infinite Enzymes. This is Dr. Elizabeth Hood featured here. She's developed a process for extracting enzymes from corn to create energy. So, is it not coming? Okay, sorry. So with her process, she's won several awards from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the latest one was to help create biofuel using her process of extracting enzymes. The second company featured here is Ozark Integrated Circuits. They're a Fayetteville-based company, and they create rugged systems for operation in extreme environmental conditions, such as high temperature, high pressure environments. And so this is really important in areas like outer space, or just high or very low above the earth, high above the ozone layer, for example, or deep. When it comes to deep hole oil drilling, that's another case where these kind of circuits are needed to help to get data and other kinds of things for analysis. The third company that was on there is a UA Little Rock spinoff company called Synanimet, and they are led by Dr. Tito Viswanathan and his partner Alan Tolan. Tito is a chemistry professor at UA Little Rock, and he and his partner in the lab found that there was a way that they could create a nanomaterial-based process to reduce or really remove heavy metals from industrial sites, and that especially phosphorus is one of the metals that's most harmful. So they were able to do this and then reuse the phosphorus to create fertilizer. So it had a value add to it that the Environmental Protection Agency found really attractive. They ended up funding this company with phase 1 and 2 awards. And at this point, Synanimet's in a license agreement with Abtech Industries, which is a big industry partner that's able to scale up their method for them and help get out there straight to the marketplace. So these are just a few examples of our statewide successes. And here's my information for our center. If you if you have any questions or definitely want to reach out and follow us on social media, feel free to do so. Thank you for your time.
Awesome.
I just want to add, this is a non-dilutive capital, so it's very good when you are at the early stage to raise your cap, and the state matches those funding. We have a new program, so you got the award, but you also have the money. So it's very beneficial.
Okay, so we're going to get started with questions. Just a quick reminder that these are microphones and not pointers. And so for the camera, we need to hold them so that the camera can actually record your words, or else the recording is not great. And I'll pass this around. Okay, great. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask if you anticipate that Arkansas will be seeing a greater proportion of SBIR awards thanks to the new legislation that just came out.
Yeah, that's a good question. The reviewers on the panels definitely look very closely at the letters of support, including those from the state. I know Arkansas Economic Development Commission is always great about providing support letters like that explain the programs available that potentially SBIR awardees could qualify for. And so that's something that they look at for sure. It's hard to say how how quickly that would impact the number of awards we see throughout the state. But I think it's only a good thing, especially if they do win awards. It helps them keep their momentum going as a company during those long periods where they're waiting for the next award to come. So that looks better too when they go in for the next round of funding, if they can say they were able to sustain their research over that period of time through a matching fund from the state. So it's definitely a positive.
Hey, Rebecca, I found that name. So we spoke on Friday, and just for the rest of the audience, I was in North Dakota 2 weeks ago, and I met a woman with the SBA who, when she found out I was from Arkansas, she goes, "Do you know Rebecca Norman?" And I said, "Yes, actually." And she goes, "Well, Rebecca is like the best SBI grant person in the country." And the lady was Brittany Sickler, who's in charge of partnerships with the SBA Office of Innovation in DC. So congratulations on the national attention there. My question's really about deal flow on the SBIR stuff. So since it's about commercializing research out of universities, what does the deal flow look like? Do we have enough faculty doing research and then trying to commercialize it?
Not only university, it could be any small business.
So can you kind of maybe clarify both tracks, the university side and the non-university side? And the second part of the question is there anything that the startup community can do to increase that level of activity?
Those are really good questions. And the first question you asked about the different tracks, the money from this program always goes to the small business, whether it's SBI or STTR, and then it's the company's decision how to allocate that to partners if they have any, or they might not have any partners if they're doing SBIR. But in many cases, what STTR is probably what you're referring to when you talk about universities, because that does allow faculty members the flexibility to still serve as the lead researcher on a project and keep their full-time position at a university. And so that's one approach. I'm trying to think of how else to elaborate on that. But we do see a lot of clients coming to us that are really out from industry strictly. They're not trying to do something in addition to their job at a university. They might have engaged someone that's a student, that's a recent graduate to take kind of the lead on the effort, or they might be working with a retired professional in the engineering field, something like that.
So let me ask, let me use it as a potential example then to further define that. Okay. If a private entity is doing product R&D, would that count for SBIR?
Sure, yes, that would count, as long as they fit the SBA's definition of a small business.
The SBIR STTR is here to finance your R&D. So if you have any kind of development or any product you want to put on the market, those grants are here for that.
So I think that's an important distinction for our audience then, because we sometimes don't think that our platforms, our apps, the technology that we're building would be considered R&D, and many times it is. So there's some really, and one of the things that Martial mentioned too is this is non-dilutive, meaning the government's not taking an equity position in your business. So if you're building something and it counts, this is a tremendous resource that Rebecca would love to help with.
And if you are a VC and you have two startups, you have one with an award and one without an award, guess what? They will invest in the one who got the award because they know the government have done the due diligence and they already invest on that company. So it's a proof of success.
Right, it's really good third-party validation when you can get one of these awards from the government. And you asked also about how startup or how the community can help.
How do we increase deal flow? And from both getting startups to consider this as an R&D project to kind of move forward on, but is there anything we could do to encourage more of this coming from the university side as well?
I think a lot of it's just education about the program, making sure that people are aware of what their options are if they want to explore the program, that they can maybe talk to the head of their department, the chair, and see if they have options for either kind of breaking up their time at the university so they can devote a portion of it to a company research effort, or if there's just a movement in general towards entrepreneurship and counting that more as a alternative way for getting credit as a professor versus strictly publications, which has historically been the case. If they can also say, well, you've gotten a certain number of patents or you submitted a certain number of proposals looking for funding to commercialize your idea that came out of the university. So we are seeing more trends for valuing that in a semi-equal way to the publishing type of tradition we've seen. So I think that, and just making sure they're aware of us at the centers. We are based at universities across the state, so it's just usually a matter of walking down the campus a bit and finding us, and we can definitely explain the ins and outs of the programs and clarify any confusion that might be surrounding that, because it is very different from university types of grants and awards, how to go through this whole process. I think just putting them in touch with us and letting us help kind of clarify some of the details and talk about options for how a team can get started.
Do you know the company 23andMe? Okay, that company uses SBR, STTR to raise the company to the next level. Symantec, the antivirus software company, they use the same program to bring that company to the next level. So you can be a tech company, you can be a software company. If there is a need for your technology, SBR, STTR could be a fit for you. So before you say, no, I don't need it, just take a look.
I have a question. Who is your favorite success story? Can you talk about that for either one of you?
That's not easy because we have a lot of clients in a different way. I mean, I switched from restaurant to P-Fitter, where it's technology-born market and everything. My favorite success story is a man who was laid off from his job. He was 60 plus, and he had no clue about what he can do and not do. We sit with him, and it was interesting to be an insurance company like Farmers. And I was like, this is not fit with your personality. You cannot do that. I mean, at one point you are 62, you cannot project yourself over the next 20 years to be an insurance company. It's a short-term goal. So he decided to invest his time and his money in an energy drink company, and he's making a lot of money because he's not working anymore. He just hired a sales guy to do the job. I mean, he wants to retire, and I understand that. But he went at the right time, at the right moment to invest on those companies. So.
You're welcome.
Nice presentation. Thank you for coming today. Rebecca, I have two questions. One, the programs you're talking about, the two different programs, are they geared for tech companies or software companies, or is it open to any type of manufacturer or any type of small business that has an idea?
It's really any type of company that's needing to do new research and development work to prove out that a new, it could be a product or
Or concept.
or a system or something like that, that
Okay.
approach works.
If you
Okay.
can patent
It's not limited.
your technology, you can be a fit.
Okay, perfect. How long does the process take from start to phase one, phase two?
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is not a quick money, even though it is non-dilutive and all of those good things. So it does, if you're going the traditional route through the entire program, I would say 3 to 4 years, maybe up to 5, depending if you're doing some kind of a life science technology development that requires Food and Drug Administration approval, that can definitely extend it out. But after you submit a proposal, it takes 4 to 6 months for the review teams to go through all of the proposals and let you know if you've been funded or not. And that's the case for both phase 1 and 2. They're both competitively awarded programs, so you have to go through that both times. And you have to wait until the next opportunity is officially released by the agencies. By the way, they're all on their own solicitation cycles each year, so you can't apply for more than one. So it's not like you're waiting for just that one opportunity and find out if you've been selected or not. You can go on to apply for another agencies, respond to one of their research topics, and also have a couple waiting that are potentially awards.
So let me tack on to that, because some of you are thinking 3, 4, 5, 6 months is the current and start. The funding is so helpful when you're trying to get something going where the VCs aren't going to get that. And you're usually pre-revenue.
I agree.
There's no idea yet. You've got this idea and you're trying to prove that it's real. So this funding is there, shows that it's real, to then go to the customers or the private equity folks.
And that's why the state funding is very important, because with $150,000, you cannot do a lot. You can do a lot for your research, for your R&D, but after that one, you apply to a new ASBTDC phase 2 and you wait maybe a year, so your company wait for a year. But with those matching funding, you have the time to do something else. If you know Nanomec, do you know Nanomec? It's a famous company in Arkansas. They won 13 awards. Not one, not 13. So they finance all their R&D with that. You can apply a different agency for different topics. That's not a problem. As a business owner, you just need to look at how I can switch from one grant to another and not lose time between those two grants. That's it.
Right, it's also important that the principal investigator can explain how they can still be involved in all the projects. If you were to receive awards for all of them, how will you make sure he has the time or she has the time to devote to each of those?
You guys mentioned that you do ongoing training for the clients that you have. For those of us that are in the business community, what topics might you need help with putting those presentations together, just so that if we're working at one of those companies, we can reach out to you and really support what you're doing?
Can I take that one? How is your social media? I mean, today, how do you do an hashtag? That's a basic topics, but if you ask half of the business, they don't know. Do you have a marketing strategy? If you ask 90% of the business, they don't have a marketing strategy. So we step in to make sure you cover all aspects of your business. And you have always a weak point. I mean, it's not, you cannot be perfect. There is always something you like and you don't like. So we are here to train you with some webinars and training for that specific topics. And if you want to be more deep, you can sit with Nicholas or me or Rebecca and go very deep on the details.
Okay, my question was more, if we're at a company that has experience in that, are you looking for business partners to facilitate those discussions and help out your clients? Or do you guys have all of the skills and training and you don't need much input?
We're open to collaborating with others on especially topics that are ones that have a lot of material to expand upon, like could be website marketing strategy, website development, all those things mixed into one. Maybe not so much for SBIR, STTR, unless there's a local company that has won awards that can also join as a guest speaker and share those stories. But definitely for a lot of our training, it's more generalized, talking about starting a business and what all that entails. So I think in those cases, we'd be open to working with other folks around the state. It's just a matter of coordinate that in advance. That would work.
Anybody else? So I have one more. Since you're the queen of SBIR grants, right? What are the things that get you personally excited? Like what kind of projects and grant applications kind of speak to the passions that you have?
Yeah, I like working with all of the clients that we have, just because I think it's really neat to see what kind of research is going on, what people come up with. Either they've been working on it for years, they come up with it just a couple days ago, and they want to go forward with it. It's neat to see people that are really passionate about what they do and willing to go through all these hoops to get out there with their proposals and hope to get funding. So it's really rewarding when they do get funding, for sure. But just working them and learning how they want to help. These are really big problems that they're hoping to solve that the agencies also feel are problems. It could be water quality, like was in the case of Nanomet. And agriculture, it could be that we were experiencing warmer and warmer temperatures, so there's a more need for having ways to grow produce throughout the year that's just not as feasible as it used to be. So people that are coming up with these neat ideas to address those challenges, it's just exciting for me to see that, and hopefully they go on to do that here in the state.
So out of 30, you said you had 36 awards, correct? How many applications did it take to get to 36 awards?
We had 120 submissions. So
Okay.
It was a 30% or so award rate.
Awesome. So what's the, yeah. So can you give us an idea of what that award percentage is typically like? I mean, is it?
It's typically a little bit lower. I had a slide up it's between 15 and 25. Each agency is a little different, but it's, yeah, a little bit lower than that.
All right. Nobody else? All right, well, give them some love, would you? And I'm pretty sure that the two of them are going to stick around for a moment. So if you have one-on-one questions that you didn't want to ask to the whole room, you can definitely ask in person. So I'm going to grab this from you real quick, and we're going to talk for just another second about what you guys can do to help them, right? So apologies for standing directly in front of you. I'm going to move. All right, so here we go. You've got cards in front of you. Those of you who've been here before know the drill. Those of you who are new, let me explain. These little cards are what we use to make the connections that we talked about at the beginning. So you probably know somebody who's got a cool idea that maybe needs to go and talk to Martial about turning that into a real business and seeing what they can do for a market research standpoint. You might know somebody who's got some research or has been talking about how in the world are they going to fund their R&D. Well, now we know that maybe an SBIR grant, or at least going through that process, is an opportunity that maybe they should explore. So let's think about who we know, and you're just going to write it down on the back of the card. And then once you've got that, you're going to give the card to me or to Ashley, and we're going to help facilitate that connection. We don't need the person's contact information. We just need their name and the commitment from you to make that connection. Next week, we're featuring one of our very own mentors, our friend Christopher Wright, who happens to be behind you right now. He's the founder of Citadel Systems, and he's going to talk to you all about his fancy cybersecurity company. It is still Techtober. There are awesome events happening all over the state, but particularly in Little Rock. If you haven't signed up yet for Tech Fest, that is on Thursday and Friday, and I encourage you to go to their website and check that out. And of course, Jolt Hackathon is this weekend. It's a CTF competition that's going to take the whole weekend. So if you have interest in hiring some awesome tech people, not that you go and recruit them there, but you can get connected and meet them, right? Or you just want to get more plugged into the technical scene, we have some volunteer opportunities available that might give you a chance to meet everybody face to face. So that's it for us today. We'll be back here next week with Citadel Systems, 9 a.m. Drink the coffee, eat the donuts, meet the people. Okay, thanks. Have a great day.